Hello, welcome to Shad Life. Well, this isn't the intro I had initially planned on doing. Um, my idea was I wanted to ride my Esker Smokey at Monarch and, get it in its element to see how it rode there. So I met with three of my good friends, and I've known these guys for since the 90s, and John since the 80s. So, three really good friends, Troy, Terry, and my friend John. John's older than me, so he's 60. I'm 57. And then Terry and Troy are younger than me. Hi, Bjorn. What are you doing? Hey, did you come to say hi? So, what ended up happening was we got to Monarch. We did our usual chat, introductions, checked out Terry's rig because he's got this really cool overlanding rig. And then we got on the trail and we decided to hit the intermediate jump line as our first go. And most of the way down that trail, we were doing good, but then one of the last couple of jumps, there's a kind of a step up jump going into a hard right hand berm. John was right in front of me and he went over the jump fine, but his front wheel slid out and he went down hard and broke his collarbone. So I'm gonna show you that clip really quick, and then I want to talk about a few things and kind of what we could have done different, and this hopefully this helps you out too, to prevent this from happening, because after talking with John, we're kind of like, our hindsight is like, what were we thinking, right? So let me show you this clip and then we'll talk. Experimenting. Whoop. First time. Woo. Yeah. Nice. Big G out. Oh shit. You alright? Oh, not good. So yeah, that was a harsh crash. I have seen a lot of crashes in my lifetime, and I actually am trained as a first responder. My certs are expired, but I still have like regular first aid, wilderness first aid training that's current. Um, but I have a lot of training and a lot of experience because I was doing bike patrol with the National Mountain Bike Patrol, which used to be a group through IMBA, or a program through IMBA, but has since kind of gone defunct. But I've just seen a lot of crashes. At racing BMX for so many years and doing BMX and mountain biking for so many years, and usually when somebody goes down, I can immediately know whether they're hurt or not. It's just one of those things where it's like you see somebody go down and sometimes you can laugh and be like, oh, that was funny, because they're not really hurt. Or you see somebody go down and you're like, oh crap, that's not good. Well, that was this crash. I saw John go down and you can clearly see like so much impact that he wasn't clipped in or anything, but you see the bike like kind of almost what do they call it, scorpion style, right? Where the bike's up in the air and John's just plowed into the ground. So it was bad, and I knew right away. You can tell by my reaction. And I turned my GoPro off right away. I just, I know a lot of people will keep filming and all this stuff. I feel like out of respect for John, I just, turn off my GoPro right away, and then I went to help him. So for those of you looking for all that action, it's not there because it's not. I don't think that's fair to film that. But because I am first responder, and then both Terry and Troy have training too, so between the three of us, John's like super thankful that we knew what we were doing. We knew not to move him right away. He was kind of moving around on his own, but I just let him, the wind was knocked out of him. He hurt some ribs, broke his collarbone, but it took him a little while to kind of, come to and start breathing normal again. And you kind of just got to be patient and wait it out. You can't try to move somebody or do anything right away because you got to be really careful. Having witnessed his crash, I knew the risk of like a spinal injury was very minimal because he didn't crash in such a way that would have hurt his spine. But I felt there was a high chance of a risk of a head injury and definitely shoulder, arm, something like that. So, so we got him up and off the ground and, extracted out of there safely. And I took him to urgent care, and he got taken care of, and now has to have surgery to get his collarbone straightened out and so on. So just super bummer because, of course, we all want to ride and we want to shred, and we don't want to see anybody get hurt. And it's really hard to see a friend of mine get hurt like that. But, again, we're all in good spirits. John was in really good spirits about it. We can analyze what could have happened and all that. And so that's what I want to talk about next. How could have this been prevented? And he actually gave me permission to show this footage and the x-ray. And he wants me to talk about this because we were kind of excited, anxious. We wanted to get out and ride. We've had so much rain this year, and we've planned to go out to Monarch so many times it kept getting canceled. So when we were there, we were just like overly anxious. And so we should have approached this a little bit different. So John's former air traffic controller and a pilot. I don't know if he's still currently flying, but I know he's done a lot of flying. So he kind of referred to this as like, make sure you do your pre-flight checklist. And I kind of like that term, especially since I use the term, do you want to be a passenger or pilot, depending on how you have your bike set up, or if your bike's too big for you and you're just along for the ride. Pre-flight checklist. And a few of the things that we should have done. One, we didn't warm up at all. We should have rode some other more mellower trails. And yeah, it's a blue jump line, but it's not a green jump line. It's a blue jump line. So it's still got some kick to it and some challenges and things like that. And when we got there, we were kind of like, well, let's just go hit the jump line right away, rather than ride some of the other trails and get warmed up and get comfortable. And to add to that, the bike John was riding isn't a bike he's super familiar with. It's relatively new to him. It's a size medium, so a little bit bigger than what he's used to, 27.5 wheels. I mean, he grew up in the days of 26-inch wheels, so he's trying to get used to the larger wheel sizes and things like that. And so, super skilled rider. Like, he raced BMX at the top levels back in the day, started racing in the 70s, 80s, and he kind of got back into it in the 90s when I kind of got him out of his basement because he was doing all this illustration work. He's an illustrator too, but super talented guy in so many forms, but really good bike rider. So I trusted him to be able to ride this stuff. And there were just some unfamiliar things. So like if you think about a pre-flight checklist, it's like, okay, make sure everything works on your bike. Make sure you have all the right gear. Make sure your brakes are working properly, all that stuff. And tire pressure. Make sure you check your tire pressure. Your tires can be either too low or too high. And in this case, we realized John's tires were too high because he was riding on the pavement. He was riding road, so he put like, I think he put like 35 psi in him, and that's just too high a pressure. I run 21 front, 24 rear, and we're about the same weight. You get a lot more traction when you lower your pressure than you do. If they're 35 or higher, they're not going to grab as good going into those hard corners and things like that. So you have your bike, you know, make sure it's dialed, make sure it's set up, make sure your tire pressure's good, all that stuff, right? Then you have yourself, make sure you're in a good, you know, you're on it, because I have off days, and if you're having an off day, then either do a chill ride. Certainly don't go hit big jumps and stuff. If you're just not feeling it, don't force yourself to do it, right? And then when you go ride places like this, especially when there are jumps and risks like this, make sure you are with friends, and trusted friends you know that if somebody gets hurt, they know how to take care of you, and they're not going to like try to get you up off the ground when you might have a spinal injury or something like that. Because, you know, some crashes, you do not want to move what we call the patient until you do a full head-to-toe check. Again, I saw John fall, so I kind of had an idea of his injuries, and that helps a lot. But if I just came upon him and I saw him laying there, there's no way I would move him until I did a full check. And if you don't have the first aid training and such, you want to wait until somebody is there. If somebody starts moving on their own and they're starting to kind of self-analyze, you can kind of let them do it to a degree, but you want to calm them down. You know, tell them to relax, tell them to, you know, talk to them, right? So you want to be with people that understand this and understand how to handle somebody when they're down. And, you know, I actually, it's kind of a story, but I actually was sent out to Seattle to analyze a jump and stuff. And this was back when I was doing work with IMBA and local trails, and I had all the training, and they wanted me to assess this jump to see if it was safe or not. And the whole reason I was sent out there by some lawyers was because there was a pending court case, and they needed a professional to go out there and assess the jump and the situation to determine if it was the fault of the trail or the fault of the rider. Well, a rider who is all by himself, nobody there, who's completely alone, decided to go to this pretty gnarly jump area deep in the woods. It wasn't even like official, it was kind of like a rogue jump area, but it was really well made. But you had to be a good rider to ride it. And he jumped a double, cased or did something, went over the bars, landed on his head, broke his neck, and was paralyzed. So he was paralyzed from the neck down. And so they had me go out there to assess the jump and stuff. And I determined the jump was okay. I actually brought my bike and rode the jump. And they were kind of like, oh, are you sure you want to ride the jump, right? But no, the jump was fine. And so I said, no, it's not the jump's fault. And somebody who, at that guy's experience level, should have not been even trying to jump a double. Should have been looking for a tabletop or something like that. But this whole idea that he was alone and crashed, he was there for over 24 hours. He was there overnight because nobody came until the next day, and they found him there. And so he had to lay there. He couldn't move because he's paralyzed for over 24 hours. And so don't go to places alone like that. Bring friends, and and hopefully you don't get paralyzed. But even if you had even just some kind of injury where you couldn't move, it would really suck to be there for a long time until somebody showed up to help. So I know that's a lot to take in, but I just want to talk about this because it's really important. And in the future, we'll go through a checklist, right? you know, maybe even have it on your phone and be like, okay, did I check my tire pressure? Did I check my brakes? Did I check these things, right? Make sure your bike's good. I don't even want to ride with somebody that has a poorly maintained bike, because not so much because of the risk of injury, that could be one thing, but I don't want to get out on the trail somewhere and then have their bike fail and then we can't ride because they have a mechanical or something. So make sure you maintain your bike and everything's good. And tire pressure, tire pressure, tire pressure. It's probably one of the more important things, because we're thinking that his pressure was too high. He wasn't familiar with the drop going into the berm, and his front wheel slid out. He went down hard. So lesson learned. Yeah, let's just talk about the Smokey for a brief moment. It was, what, maybe a couple of minutes of riding this on the blue line at Monarch, but I can say the bike felt pretty good. I was having fun. You can see in the video I'm popping off the jumps, rolling some of them manually and jumping them and having no problem. So yeah, I think this bike is gonna rock at a place like Monarch. I'm just gonna have to try again to get out there and give it a full Monarch review. Because Theo, it was pretty good, but now that I have better appropriate tires on this bike, I think it'll even be better. So yeah, we'll talk about this soon in a future video. I appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.